What's up everybody, it's RobinGaming here. So with the announcement of the God of War 3 Remastered edition that's coming out on the PS4 this July, I thought, one of these topics that always comes up and that has been very highly discussed over the last year or so, ever since the start of this generation, is remakes or remasters or whatever you want to call it. Are they very necessary? Are they something that I would defend, or that I think shouldn't happen at all? Because there's so many people saying right now that they don't want any remasters to be made, that these companies need to stop pretty much supporting those kind of ideas and just get on with making actual new games. And that's something I wanted to discuss. First of all, I was very surprised by the announcement of the God of War 3 Remastered edition, because it doesn't really seem like anybody asked for it. If you ask people what kind of remasters they want right now, you hear by a lot of people, they'll say something like, yeah, they want all the Souls games, or they want the Uncharted Trilogy or Mass Effect, these big series. God of War 3 was kind of like a thing where, it was a very good game. It's actually one of the games I missed out on in the last generation, and therefore I am actually pretty interested in maybe playing this one. I did play a bit of the first two games, which were already HD remade pretty much for the PlayStation 3 and for the Vita and stuff. But yeah, nobody specifically, I think, asked for God of War 3 to be remade. That's why I find it a little weird, but then again, I kind of want to get into that topic of should these remasters actually happen, and I myself, I am quite fine with them. I have no problem with these remasters, and I think that a lot of the people that do, and who do kind of like attack these ideas on the forums, on the internet, in the YouTube comments, I think they don't quite know what they're saying, to be honest, or they don't know enough about the whole process to, for example, claim that it hurts the development of new games. First of all, look at the argument that remaking a game takes a lot of time, a lot of resources, and therefore it means that actual new games are kind of like hurt in the process. It takes longer to make them because these developers are also working on remastering their old games. I don't think that, that's necessarily true at all. I think it's a very small team that works on these type of games, and I already took Naughty Dog as an example in one of my last videos. I think when The Last of Us Remastered was made, Naughty Dog at the same time was working on The Last of Us Left Behind, on other DLC, maps and patches, while at the same time having half a team working on Uncharted 4, and I'm pretty sure that the new game that they are working on, which is probably The Last of Us 2, had been in development at that time already. That kind of like the design and the concept art part of the studio was already working at sketches for that specific game. I think it's only a few engineers that you really put onto a project like this, and yeah, then it will take maybe a year or so to make, but it's only gonna take just a couple of resources, a couple of actual people to make this, and it doesn't really make for any sacrifices to be made for this specific remake of a game. I don't think it hurts the development of new games at all, to be quite honest with you. Like, yeah, it does hurt it a little bit. It's just so insignificant that it doesn't really matter to me. And I think especially when you saw last year, during the summer, PS4 had such a dry period, and therefore it was very welcome that The Last of Us kind of like came out on the PS4, because people didn't really have something to play. And I think it was not only the Xbox, for example, players that now got a PS4 that were very interested in getting this game. Also people who did already play The Last of Us picked this up just because they wanted to get into that multiplayer again on the PS4, and it just made for something that they could still play right now. You see that AAA titles take a very long time to make, and that means that we are now seeing a lot of these gaps between releases, and these are some great initiatives to fill up that space, in my opinion. I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with these HD remakes at all, and something that definitely bothers me quite a bit about these people attacking this idea, attacking next gen remakes or remasters, whatever you want to call it, is that they themselves will also always have exceptions to the rule. They'll say, I only want new games to be made, I don't want these studios to focus on any remakes of games, but at the same time they're like, oh, but hey, if Uncharted gets remade, if we see an Uncharted Collection, I'm still definitely picking that up, because that was my favorite series. Or if Skyrim gets remade, if Mass Effect does get this collection where I can play all three of the games, and I can get back into that Mass Effect 3 multiplayer and stuff that I really enjoyed, for example, like, then they'll say they'll make an exception for that, and they will end up picking that up. And that kind of tells it, everybody has some kind of game or franchise that they really like and would only like to see being made even better, with 60 frames per second, with better graphics, just an overall smoother experience that kind of already also, gets a lot of people to be playing it again with them. I think it's something that yeah, all of you will have some kind of game in mind that you would like to see remade, and therefore, once again, I don't necessarily have any problems with remasters at all, and I might still get God of War 3 as well, because it's a game that I missed out on myself, just like I actually got The Last of Us Remastered so I could play multiplayer on the PS4, and I'm sure there's going to be some others that I end up picking up. Tomb Raider was a great example. I actually picked that one up because I missed out on it on the PlayStation 3, and therefore I was very happy to see that being remade, because I totally missed out on the experience, and that was just all in all very cool, because the game itself was super good and I wouldn't have wanted it, to have missed out on it. So therefore, yeah, that's kind of like my stance on next gen remakes, remasters, whatever you want to call it. So with that being said, I would like to know your opinion in the comments. What do you think of these specific remakes? Are they something that you don't really complain about? Can you see where I'm coming from? Do you agree with my opinion? Let me know that in the comments, and then for now, I would like to thank you a lot for watching and hope to see you again next time.